This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Hello and welcome to the Research Talks podcast here on Stockbox with Alan Green. Alan, it's good to be catching up again. How are things?
Where has the week gone, Mark? It seems like just a day or so ago since we last spoke, and here we are. It's incredible. But very good. Thanks. A very quick week. But the one good thing is, of course, the clocks are going forward this weekend, so we'll have longer evenings.
Ah, indeed. Okay, yes, it's always nice, isn't it? You can finally feel that spring and summer is on the way. Although I must admit, I have been enjoying the fact that the US went before us. So I've actually been the S&P, the US markets have opened an hour earlier, which is a bit nice. So I'll bear in mind next week it's back to 3:30 over here. But yeah, that's all good. It has been a pretty good week. We did our Stockbox premiere with 3 African battery metals companies on Wednesday. It was a record for us. We got over 400 people watching that live, which was fantastic. And even George Roach from Premier African Minerals joined us live via satellite video, which was really cool. That took some technical setup from the team on the ground there, but I was very impressed with the quality. He was on site at Zulu. And that went down a storm. So that was a very good event for us this week. So lots of investors interested in those kind of companies at the moment. So that's all very good.
Yeah, well done. That was a very good show actually. So
thank you.
Congrats to the technical team, and you know who you are.
Indeed. Okay, well, we're going to be talking about an African company today, aren't we? Caracal Gold, first of all, over in Kenya. And then you're going to talk to us about a company we've not spoken about before, I should say, Versarien PLC.
Versarien, indeed.
Versarien, okay.
Yeah, that's it. So we'll start with Caracal Gold. Mark, of course, we spoke about Caracal last year. Caracal is London listed, has other listings, also the Frankfurt Stock Exchange too. The share price has taken, along with other companies in the sector, a bit of a battering. But in particular, on the 10th of January, the share price fell quite sharply and has bottomed out just above where we are now at 0.2p on the year. Year high, of course, of 1.15p, and we're currently trading at 0.35p, which gives this company, Caracal Gold, a market capitalization of just 7.4 million, which I think is totally derisory. But I can understand perhaps the market's taking the view in the difficult backdrop at the moment. So Caracal is based in the east of Africa. Now, if you are familiar with Africa at all, one of the largest lakes inland freshwater lakes in the world is Lake Victoria, and Lake Victoria borders a number of countries, which include Kenya and Tanzania. Sadly, the lake is very polluted. Of course, the controls over the disposal of sewage and so on are not controlled there, but nonetheless, it is a very beautiful region. In Kenya, of course, west of Nairobi, Caracal own and operates the Kilimapisa gold mine and a number of exploration tenements around the mine itself. And in just across the border, so literally right on the border there, you've got the Serengeti National Park. And if you carry on southwest from there, you come to the company's other asset, which is the Naikafuru gold project, and that's basically south of the Tanzanian capital of Mwanza, in the lowlands below Lake Victoria there. So Caracal has an extensive board. The chief exec, of course, is well known to listeners, Robbie McRae, many years of experience, over 22 years experience mining in in Africa. He's been involved in projects across 15 African countries. The chairman, of course, is Simon Games Thomas, many years experience in metals, commodities, and banking. And then we also have non-executive director, Mrs. Rachel Johnson, again, many years of experience. The HE ambassador, Honourable Dan Kazunga, and also Stefan Muller, who's a non-exec on the board as well. Then there's an extensive operational board below that involved in operating and running the mine. So Caracal came about through the acquisition of the Kilimapisa gold mine in Kenya back in 2021. It relisted in August 2021 under the epicode of GCAT, and its task as a company has been to redevelop the Kilimapisa gold mine and subsequently develop the assets lying around the area. So there is a huge Archean greenstone belt in southwest Kenya that overlaps into Tanzania. So the mineral assets under the ground there are well established and well documented. This huge greenstone belt. So aside from the Kilimapisa gold mine, there are mining licenses. The surrounding exploration license area, PL 189, is the subject of drilling and exploration work. The company is aiming overall to build a JORC compliant resource base across the two projects of 3 million ounces of gold. And of course, the risk really with a company like Caracal is far less than, say, with an explorer, because the asset and the infrastructure are already there. And what Caracal have done with the money they've raised since coming to market, they have invested that money into recommissioning the Kilimapisa gold mine and bringing production on stream. So Kilimapisa is now at the point where the overall project mineral resource for Kilimapisa stands at 14 million tons of gold at 1.56 grams per ton, which equates to 705,000 ounces of contained gold. And it's working hard to increase its total resource to 2 million ounces. So most recently, on the 21st of March, that was at the start of the week, the company announced that it had discovered a new high-grade zone on Kilimapisa Hill, and this is a high-grade zone which exists above the current workings and the areas drilled as part of the initial mineral resource estimate at Kilimapisa. So the company extracted high-grade material. Average grades were 3.3 to 4.7 grams per ton, and this of course is spread over 6 zones which have been mapped and sampled, and the exploration team are continuing to work on this high-grade zone to define the full extent of this strike area, and of course that'll be followed by trenching and then drilling to find out exactly where the extent of the strike goes to. And we see this with so many established assets. I mean, of course, Greatland Gold is probably the yardstick in that regard. Greatland Gold's existing Havieron assets, the exploration team on the ground there have discovered new deposits and extension of existing strike, and it's quite common to find that when you find the asset. So of course, the team commented. I mean, Robbie McRae said in particular, the Caracal Kilimapisa exploration team always believed that the high-grade zones existed around the mine, and of course, as they're expanding the open cast mining pits, they're finding these grades, and they expect to find more going forward. And this is this is something the company will continue to do, and of course that of course is wholly dependent on progressing the funding required to expand the project into the second quarter of 2023. With the existing production at the mine, the company has thus far invested $30 million into exploration, mining, and the work to date is targeting 24,000 ounces of gold per annum, that production capacity, by the end of quarter one. So we should have those numbers confirmed, I imagine, in the next couple of weeks. But that's a very, very encouraging number. And I think the great thing is, of course, with an asset like this, you're cornerstoning your other activities because you have a producing assets and a team on the ground there with a lot of extra potential to develop. So we then cross the border into Tanzania and we look at the company's second asset. So this is the Nyakafuru gold project. The granted licenses for the Nyaka gold project have JORC compliant resources of 658,000 ounces at 2 grams per ton, with major development, major exploration upside on top of those licenses. Development studies there previously have been completed based on putting together. So that's of course a preliminary economic assessment based on a large-scale commercial open pit mining operation and a processing plant. So the next steps here for Nyakafuru include completing the project acquisition, finalizing the exploration plan and infrastructure preparation during by the end of the year, and of course the drilling will commence there. It is expected very shortly. So why has the share price been hit? Well, the company, of course, with any asset like this, requires ongoing funding. The gold that's produced can be sold into the market. That generates some revenues, but in order to get to that 3 million ounces, a lot more funding is required. So the company secured non-dilutive funding initially with OSIM Metals and Mining and Floro Global Trading. But it was announced in January this year that both OSIM and Floro had decided to pull the funding pending operational and financial changes to the development plan. An interim funding arrangement was also put together with Mill End Financing, and the resolution of that funding arrangement is ongoing. I believe Simon Games Thomas, the chairman, is attempting to resolve that as we speak. But Caracal also announced recently it secured further funding from Orca Capital, an initial $1 million, and the opportunity to subscribe for a further $4 million. And at that point, it was the company also stated that Floro Global Trading was still supportive and would be an active participant in funding going forward. So it looks to me at present as though the company has actually resolved the issues of funding, and of course that has effectively, that has put the brakes on the developments in regard to drilling and developing the other assets. Obviously, we can see that with the latest announcement from Kilimapita Hill, with the new high grade zone discovered, further value is being added to this asset all the time. And I know, Mark, you've spoken to Robbie McRae on many occasions, and Robbie's outlined the scope and his vision for the project. But Robbie's supported by a very diverse and strong board. So I believe that with the assets the company has, number one, and the cornerstone by the producing asset that is Kilimapita, together with that board, the context that they have, and the access to funding the company will has, the projects between them, both Kilimapisa and Niakafuru, will develop and will achieve that 3 million ounces target that the company has. I should say also that the company also announced in the most recent update that Simon Games Thomas, Simon Grant Rennick, in fact, will be coming in as executive chairman in his place, but he is operating as chairman designate in the short term and is undertaking a review of Caracal's overall corporate governance and compliance communication policies just to strengthen its own internal procedures. So I imagine that that will address the issues that OSIM and Fularo may have had that was announced in January. So the company can then continue unhindered with developing Kilimapisa and bringing that asset to its full production potential, and of course developing Niakafuru in the process.
Excellent, thank you, Alan. A good summary there. The biggest thing is to get that funding sorted, isn't it? Because I know drilling is on hold at the moment, and of course the funding with OSIM didn't actually happen, but it was very close. Robbie confident from the last interview I had with him that they will get that sorted fairly soon, and advanced discussions. I think, in fact, they're actually at the point of lawyers being involved and visits to site being conducted around early April. So that's promising. So we'll get a hopefully better idea sort of mid-April maybe about where that's going on the funding. But they also had those high grades, as you mentioned, didn't they? Which is fantastic. Which just kind of gives confidence to the project there. And production is ongoing, but get this funding over the line so they can expand the plant, and then really they can start motoring on. It's nice to see a company out there producing gold.
Well, it is, yeah, and of course, the gold price is pushing up at the moment because of the macro backdrop and uncertainties. It's a safe haven asset, as we know. So a company like this that's already producing gold, that clearly has additional gold in the ground at Kilimapisa, and that's the easiest thing. You've got the infrastructure, all of the equipment on site there. So actually sending a team up into the hills or a few clicks down the road to explore another part, everything's there. You haven't got to transport or set up a logistics infrastructure to transport everything there, because the equipment's already there on the ground. So in relative cost terms, that's very low. And that I think is what makes this such a compelling investment proposition. And I think, if we look at the share price performance, it fell sharply in January on the news that OSIM and Fularo had withdrawn, but they've got Orca Capital as funders now, and the share price hasn't really come back and addressed that. So I think there's a real opportunity here to pick up this company with its assets at a real knockdown price.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Alan. So the next company you're going to cover is Versarien PLC.
Versarien PLC is an interesting conundrum on a number of levels, and this is I like to think of Versarien as a great British company. We have we talk about innovation, and we talk about companies bringing new products to market and developing technology, and very few countries in the world do it better than here in the UK. And working at Sussex Innovation Centre, I see lots of great ideas come through there, get developed into the marketplace, and of course pushed out into the market. And Versarien is one such company. I mean, literally, this is the company that started in an engineer's garage and has now got this global reach. So Versarien produces, it's producing proprietary graphene technology to create new solutions. And it is involved with, and has, in some cases, owns 100%, in other cases, collaborates with a company called 2D Technology, which is a spin out from the University of Manchester. And 2D Tech produces nanine, which is high quality microalloy graphene. then polygreen, which is a polymer range of graphene, and then hexatein, which when you think of these products, that these are microscopic sheets that can be used to strengthen materials, strengthen clothing, strengthen all sorts of things. The range of potential applications is nebulous. It also owns Cambridge Graphene, which is graphene inks. So this is 2D technology. So this is graphene inks for 2D materials technology and applications. Of course, this is used in circuit boards, conductive graphene inks for printing processes and others. It has graphene lab Versarien in Korea, in South Korea, which is developing graphene. And then the company is centered in Longhope in Gloucestershire, in the Cotswolds, and it's developing a new innovation centre there. And indeed, the floor of that centre is quite unique in that it's used the company's cementine and polygreen enhanced concrete. And the company recently announced a collaboration with Costain, the building manufacturer, where they have manufactured the first curved concrete wall on a site, and that it's not supported by steel, or it's not steel reinforced as per the conventional method. Is using its new technology to create this, and of course it just opens up a whole raft of possibilities in the construction sector. So the company also acquired. It has an operation called Nanomat in Spain, which utilizes graphene products. It's now acquired and bought those assets, transferred all the manufacturing assets back to its new Longhope center, and will ramp up its production to an additional 100-ton powder capacity per annum. So that's a big step forward for the company. The other assets it has a Texas arm, the Versarien Graphene Incorporated. It has a Chinese arm in Beijing Versarien Technology Limited, the wholly owned Chinese entity to form the base for expansion in China. Has Cyroma, which is enhanced graphene plastic products. So if you're using injection molding, vacuum forming, and a whole raft of applications there, and also a carbide. Total Carbide is a manufacturer of tungsten carbide for environments in oil and gas. So for knives, wear-resistant parts, nozzles or valve inserts, and also in defense and aerospace too. So a really broad and diverse range of products. So the company is taking a significant series of steps forward. There was a partnership with company 2D Technology to work with Rolls-Royce to develop 2D technology, nanine, polygreen, and hexatein products for aerospace and defense. And then more recently, the company has announced collaborations, particularly with Umbro, where Umbro has launched a range of clothing with graphene wear. So this clothing contains graphene, which of course incorporates protective qualities and also insulation properties as well, and of course huge strength, which is what the graphene is all about. It also has signed a collaboration with Superdry. So all of this development is taking place, and the company is moving forward at a rate of knots. Well, it would have done had certain pundits out there in the marketplace not decided to conduct a wholesale character assassination of the chief executive, Neil Ricketts. Now, Neil is basically the founder, and he's an engineer by trade. He has tirelessly pushed this company since the outset, but certain pundits have taken umbrage to that and conducted a character assassination on him. And as a result of that, the share price of the company has fallen, because any innovative company like this, and I know this from the Innovation Centre, requires funding at regular stages. And of course, the share price of Versarien, if you look at the chart, has collapsed from highs of about 70p, hit lows of 2p, and is currently trading back about 3.5 to 4p, giving the company a market capitalization of just around 9 million. Now, the company recently raised 318,000 at 2p when the share price was at lows. Neil Ricketts offered his resignation, which has been accepted by the board, but he is the guy that has created the relationships and developed the business. So whilst I have no doubt a new chief exec will come in at some point, Neil will still be very much involved and obviously remains a huge shareholder in the company. We have Stephen Hodge, Dr. Stephen Hodge, who's Chief Technology Officer. He was employed at Cambridge Graphene initially and has held postdoctoral research associate positions at Cambridge University, and he's also holds a PhD in nanomaterial chemistry. So he's very much the man for that role. So what's the position going forward? Well, the company announced results recently. To September last year, revenues for the year came in at just under 12 million, 11.7 million, up from 5.7 million previously. Graphene revenues rose from 0.7 million to 2.1 million. EBITDA, the loss before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization of 2.4 million from 1.9 million previously. And of course, a loss before tax of 8.3 million, roughly on a par with the previous loss. So revenues are increasing. It's still a loss-making company, but obviously it's invested into developing these companies and assets, and it will need to raise further money. So the issue is, I think, is that a buyer or a shareholder or an institution, I think, will need to recognize the value in Versarien, support the company, and then I believe the company will survive and it'll push on. And we're sitting here now with the share price down at 3.5p, and given those revenues the company's generated over the past year and continues to generate now, I have every expectation that we'll be back up to 10, possibly 12p, by the middle of the year. But of course, it is conditional on finding a supportive institution to support the company and to help the company to continue to develop its assets. But part of the role of the outgoing chief exec and of course the new chief exec is to fine tune and streamline the existing costs the company has, and of course that will happen now going forward. So it's very much a watch this space, but I think the technology is fantastic, and it's given if the company struggle to strike up partnerships with the majors out there, then I think you could probably look at this and say, well, it's a great idea, but I'm sure it'll get taken out by a major at some point. But I think the fact that it has these working relationships with Rolls-Royce, Superdry, Umbro, Costain, to name but a few, and also a raft of other gyms who are promoting the product in South America. I think there's every potential for the company to continue to grow, to develop, and to get past this issue that it has right now. And I know, I feel strongly about it, and the company has an army of shareholders out there who have been and remain very supportive of the company and the product.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, Alan. That's a new story to follow there, isn't it? And it's great from garage to where it is now, as you say, and very interesting products there that they're obviously working on. So, I mean, you talk there about the potential growth story. What do you think perhaps a catalyst might be? Would be certain milestones be reached to propel the company forward?
Well, in its last set of results, obviously it mentioned all of the companies it was working with, and it just said Umbro is integrating graphene wear into its Elite Pro training kit range for its 2023 Spring-Summer collection. Go-To Gym in South America launching active wear incorporating Versarien's graphene wear tech, Bio Brazil integrating graphene wear tech, Superdry to produce graphene enhanced garments, global construction companies beginning to trial cementine, and that's the product that the wall was built with, along with Costain, the company's delivered a defense science and technology laboratory contract within specification. Also signed a contract with US company Flux Footwear, an adaptive footwear company, to supply graphene into the shoes, and launched 10 new product demonstrators in the period. So I think the sales force out there are clearly engaging with the marketplace. So I think we're just going to hear more about these new deals going forward. But the company's got to address a funding issue in the short term. But I'm confident that discussions are ongoing and that will be resolved. And I'm certainly prepared to back it at this price.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for talking to us there, both about Caracal Gold and Versarien PLC. It's good to get a new company to take a look at. So have a pleasant weekend, Alan, and we'll see what next week brings, hey?
You too, Mark. Thanks very much.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.